In this video, we are going to talk about intercepts. The x-intercept is a point at which the graph crosses or touches the x-axis. The y-intercept is a point at which the graph crosses or touches the y-axis. In this graph, the x-intercept is a point -3, 0, since this is the point at which the line touches, or in this case crosses, the x-axis. The y-intercept is the point 0, 2, since this is the point at which the line crosses the y-axis. Here's another example. Give the coordinates of any x-intercepts and give the coordinates of any y-intercepts. In this case, for our graph, to get the x-intercept, we have to determine the points at which the graph crosses the x-axis. The graph crosses the x-axis at this point and at this point. This is the point 2, 0, and this is the point -2, 0. So there are two x-intercepts, and they are 2, 0 and -2, 0. The y-intercept is a point at which this graph crosses the y-axis. The graph crosses the y-axis at this point, and this is the point 0, -4. Therefore, the y-intercept is the point 0, -4. Now notice what happens. Anytime a graph crosses the x-axis, it has to be here on this side. This is the x-axis. At the x-axis, the y value will always be 0. So, for example, if I draw another line that goes like this, it's still going to cross the x-axis at this point, and at that point, the y value will always be 0. So any point on the x-axis will always have a y value of 0. And this is going to be important in the next slide. Same with the y-axis. Any point on the y-axis will have an x value of 0. So to find the x-intercepts of the equation ax plus by equals to 0, we would replace the x with 0 and solve for y. To find the x-intercepts of an equations graph, replace the y value with 0 and solve for x. Because remember, at the y-intercept, the x value is always 0, and at the x-intercept, the y value is always 0. For example, find the y-intercept and x-intercept of the graph of the line 5x plus 2y equals 10 and graph the line using the intercepts. So let's first find the y-intercept. For the y-intercept, we will let the x value equal to 0 and solve for y. So this means x will be 0. Anything times 0 is 0, so we would get 2y equals to 10. And if we divide both sides by 2, we will get y equals to 5. Now we have to be careful. The y-intercept is an ordered pair. It's a point. So we have to write this as the point 0, 5. To get the x-intercept, we will let the y value equal to 0 and solve for x. So if we let the y value equal to 0, we will get 5x plus 2 times 0 equals 10. Anything times 0 is 0, so we will get 5x equals 10, which means x equals 2. So the x-intercept is going to be the point 2, 0. So the y-intercept is 0, 5. The x-intercept is 2, 0. If we connect them, our line will look like this. So for any equation, regardless of whether it's linear or not, to get the y-intercept, let the x value equal to 0, solve for y. To get the x-intercept, let the y value equal to 0 and solve for x. Here's another example. Find the y-intercept and the x-intercept of the graph of y equals to 3x plus 6. To get the y-intercept, we will let the x value equal to 0 and solve for y. So we have y equals to 3 times 0 plus 6. Now 3 times 0 is 0, so we will get y equals to 6 as the y-intercept. we have to write this as an ordered pair, which would be the point 0, 6. To get the x-intercept, we will let the y value equal to 0 and solve for x. So if we let the y value equal to 0, we will get 0 equals to 3 times x plus 6. Now this is an equation we have to solve. So when you solve an equation, we have to get the variables on one side and the numbers of the constants on the other side. So we will subtract both sides by 6. This will give us negative 6 equals to 3x. If we divide both sides by 2, we will get x equals to negative 2. So our x-intercept is a point negative 2, 0. To plot these points, we have negative 2, 0. We have 0, 6. We connect them using a straight line. And this is the graph of our line.